What's going on, y'all? So today I'm recording chapter 8 of the Neverending Story, and as I'm finishing recording, I just remembered that I wanted to make this behind the scenes video to show you how I do all this and stuff like that. So I guess I'll start with showing you my setup. It's pretty simple. I just record into this condenser mic that's got a pop filter in front of it. That goes into the Scarlett 2, that's my interface. And that goes into the computer, and I record typically into Audacity. I use Audacity just because it's simple. I do have Ableton Live, which I could record into, but it has a lot of other stuff going on. So I just stick with Audacity because it's pretty simple. It's a clean interface. And I can do multiple tracks and stuff if I want to. The effects that are already loaded into the DAW aren't super expansive. Like, there's some stuff there, like delay and chorus and reverb and stuff. They're not the greatest effects, so I don't use a whole lot of them. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do. That's at least the beginning of the setup. As far as recording, I record everything in one long take. Like, I start reading, I record the whole thing, and if I stumble over a word or my voice cracks or I'm up in my third story in my house next to a window, I've tried to like cover it up as best I could, but sometimes sound from the road bleeds in, and you know what I mean. So when stuff like that happens, I don't stop recording. I just stop reading, and then I go back and reread that section until I get it to sound good. So once I'm done recording, then I have to go back and cut out all those sections with the mistakes. At the same time, I'm also cutting out all the breaths and the sounds that your mouth makes when you're super close to a condenser mic. At least try and cut as many of those things out as you can, right? And then the other thing that I'm doing at the same time is thinking about the cadence in between phrases or sentences and paragraphs and stuff. You don't want each sentence to follow the next sentence like immediately. You want there to be some level of space, right? So you have to think about the timing and again the cadence. So I'm either elongating certain sentences or at least the spaces in between sentences, or I'm shortening them. When I'm recording them, I have to think about that too, so that there's only so much you can do in as far as lengthening a space in between a sentence. You typically just have to like be doing that in the moment when you're recording, or at least put a lot of space, and then you can go back and cut some of that space out. So I guess that's like the first step and a half, maybe 2 steps, is recording the section and then editing out all the mistakes as far as that goes. So, I mean, that's the first 2 steps. Once I get done editing all the spaces and things like that, all the errors, then I'll show you guys how I add Foley sound and add music and stuff like that. Word? All right. All right, y'all. So I'm done editing all the mistakes and breaths and noises and stuff out. One thing I've noticed, it's probably not a good idea to start recording when you're hungry, like really hungry, or I guess even like just after you've eaten. And maybe this is just an issue that I'm having. I imagine other people would have this issue too. So the microphone that I have, the gain has to be up pretty high for it to get like the full, for you to get everything out of the microphone. So with high gain and either an empty stomach or a gurgly stomach, a lot of those sounds are going to come through on the microphone. So that's kind of problematic, just in the sense that sometimes those sounds happen while you're speaking, as opposed to the breaths and the mouth sounds that usually happen in between your words, right? So anyways, I've gone through and edited most of that stuff out. So what I want to show you now is I'm on a section where I've got characters, and each character needs to have at least something different about their voice, just so it sounds consistent. So right now, the only 2 voices that I think are in this chapter are Atreyu and Falcor. And because these voices happen so often within the story, I saved presets on the different effects to create, again, some sort of consistency or continuity through the recordings. So again, right now we're working on this section with Falcor. So here's what I've recorded so far.
Atreyu, my little master, are you asleep?
No, said Atreyu, though actually he had been caught up in a terrifying dream.
So I need to make Falcor's voice sound like Falcor, and I need to make Atreyu's voice sound like Atreyu. So what I've done in the past is, so we'll go ahead and highlight this section of Falcor speaking, and what I've done in the past is I'll change the speed of the voice, and that typically makes the voice sound lower.
Atreyu, my little master.
It sounds lower if you slow it down, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll okay that. What that does, though, is that it elongates this section. It makes it longer, right? Because you've slowed it down. So all of this editing needs to happen at this stage before I add music and Foley sound. Just in the way that I've been doing these recordings, this step, like I said, has to happen first. Otherwise, if you try to do it later after you've already added Foley sound and music, again, it elongates that section, so it's going to throw off the timing, whatever you've set up for the sound, the sound effects and the music. So we've done that. Now we're going to go and change the pitch as well.
Atreyu, my little master.
Stop. So we're going to go through and we're going to say Falcor.
Atreyu, my little master, are you asleep?
So that's kind of how I want Falcor's voice to sound. And changing the pitch doesn't elongate the section or give it more time, but slowing it down or speeding it up does. So that's that. Now we're going to go to Atreyu.
No, said Atreyu, though actually he had been caught up in a terrifying dream.
So it's just this part that we're going to change. So we're going to go here, and all I do for Atreyu is I change the pitch. So we're going to go Atreyu, and it's really just bringing the pitch up just a little bit, because Atreyu is supposed to be like 11 or 12. So we'll listen to that.
No.
Yeah, all it does is make it go up a little bit. So let's look at that section again.
Atreyu, my little master, are you asleep?
No, said Atreyu, though actually he had been caught up in a terrifying dream.
So, at least for this chapter, there's only two voices. If I remember correctly, yeah, it's just Falcor and Atreyu, and then the narrator. So for the narrator, I just use my normal voice, and then, like I say, for Atreyu, I just raise the pitch. For Falcor, I slow it down and lower the pitch. And the other thing about it is you have to think about what's happening in the scene. In this scene, they're flying through the air. So I don't need to add echo or reverb, because just think about flying in the air. Your voice isn't going to reverberate off of anything. And then when I get around to doing the Foley sound, right through this section, we're going to add wind sounds and maybe some other sounds too. But yeah, that's what we got so far. Alright, so back here again, I'm adjusting Falcor and Atreyu's voice, and there are 4 more characters that I have to come up with voices for. The Wind Giants. So, they're fantastical characters, like they're fictional characters that I have no reference for because these characters don't show up in the movie. But they're giants and they're made of wind. So I wonder what we should do. So here's the first voice.
Not in the north.
So Atreyu's asking them where the borders of Fantastica are. So they're made of wind. So we're going to highlight this section. We're going to go through and see maybe what we could do to the sound. Maybe these people have echo. Let's try that.
Not in the north.
So the thing with echo is that we want to highlight more of the section so it continues to echo.
Not in the north.
So maybe I can add some echo. Let's try that. So we'll add that. And then maybe also it has like a different sound. Maybe a phaser sound.
Not in the north.
Which we can go through and edit and kind of mess around with. What else could it sound like? Maybe, what's repeat sound like?
Not in the north. Not in the north.
We don't want that. What else can we do? What's wah-wah sound like?
Not in the north.
No, that's not going to work. So you see what type of issues I find myself with trying to come up with different sounds for voices. I'm kind of limited as to what Audacity offers. I guess I could go on the internet and look up plugins and stuff like that, but this is just for fun for me, and as soon as it stops being fun, I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm going to go through and see if I can figure out what the voices should sound like, and then I'll bring you guys back in. Alright, y'all, so I went ahead and adjusted all the sounds on the voices, and for the wind giants, I just decided to add a little bit of echo and this effect called Paul stretch, which just extremely elongates sections that you've highlighted without changing the pitch. I don't know. It didn't really need a whole lot of adjusting as far as the voices, because they only show up here as far as I remember. So I think that's as much as I want to do today. I've taken out all of the mistakes and the breaths and the clicks and the tongue sounds, and I've adjusted the character voices. So I don't know, it's almost like 4 o'clock, and I've been working on this for a while. So what I tend to do is get this much done in the first sit down session, and I usually will maybe do more editing the following day or maybe later on in the day. I don't like to spend the entire day doing it. I do like to step away from it and then come back later and make adjustments, because it's easier to do stuff like that when you have a fresh ear. When you're sitting here for long periods of time trying to edit things, it can you can kind of get I don't know what the right word is, but it's easier for me to take breaks sometimes. So that's as much as I want to do today. I'll maybe do another video for the Foley and the music later on, and then mastering and mixing and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.